I do all these watercolor landscapes and then I end up using them in these pieces, like kind of source material. So it makes it so you're not as generic when you're trying to set up a space for stuff to be in. Huge things will change before I get on that blank canvas. It's how I start like working out all my ideas. And then eventually I get to a composition and stuff in the composition that I really like. And then at that point, I actually go from the drawings to watercolors and make some preliminary, watercolors of the full scene. And then I go from the watercolors to the big canvas. I never used to work this way, but with this whole series and the bird series, a lot of the problems, compositional, color, all that, are worked out before I ever get on the big canvas. They're like complex narrative scenes, and it needs. There's something about the paint. I want the paint on the big canvas to be really fresh. Like Manet's paint looks so fresh. And so the way to do that is to work out a lot of your problems first, so the paint doesn't get gummy as you like scrape it off and put new on and cover it over and all that stuff. And you can get great paint that way. I love thickly painted canvases, but right now I'm actually into thin washes and then drawing with the tube. So it's almost like a big drawing instead of a painting. So I want to get this guy in here, if I can draw him in.
My father, he was a professional photographer. That's how he made his living. He had his own business in New York City. He was a really good artist. So there's a whole connection to art through that. But when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a writer. I didn't think I was going to be an artist until I went to college. It was almost like I had to get away from my father in order to do art myself.
My mother always liked birds and pointed them out to me, but I didn't really pay attention to them until I was an adult. But I became a fanatic about 20 years ago. I had done a series of 10, 12 paintings this size called the Bird Disaster Series, and they're all birds in bad situations. It's interesting to be doing something about hunting, because I think birding is very close to hunting. It's knowing the habitat, you have to know all this stuff in it. It's very intriguing and exciting, like a treasure hunt kind of. I mean, you have to let your unconscious work on all this stuff. It doesn't happen logically, but yeah, that all becomes fodder, grist for the mill. I had a dream, actually, totally freaked me out, that my daughter had cut an animal in lengthwise, two animals, squirrel and a rabbit, and then sewed them back together, one half each to the other half, so that they were half rabbit and half squirrel, and that they were actually moving around and hopping around. And I was like, oh my God, so then I woke up, I thought, oh, that is a fantastic image. So rabbits have furry noses. Their noses are all covered with fur, and squirrels do not. So you have this kind of funny line between. I love this guy. He's adorable. This has been so great because I haven't paid attention to dreams or anything like that in so many years. While I was department chair, I just didn't have the sort of mental space to do that, and so now I can use that again, and it's wonderful. Okay, so now we have our squabbit. I was born in New Jersey, East Orange, right outside of Newark, and we moved up to Poughkeepsie when I was in first grade, and then I grew up there outside of Poughkeepsie, New York. I was the kind of kid that was outdoors all the time. And then when you think about my work now and the interest in nature and birds and all that kind of stuff, rode my bike everywhere, was gone for hours at a time, roamed the countryside. And actually I think about it a lot now because I have my own kids, and I really try and give them that freedom, which is not something that parents do nowadays, but I think it's really important. The other thing is my stepfather, his family had this place in the Adirondacks, and we went there every summer, and that also was incredibly important to my interest in birds and nature and formative things and everything. I went to school in University of Maine in Orono, and then
After graduation, I moved to San Francisco, and I was there for 10 years. On the way there, I worked on a ranch in Montana for a while. You know, I had to come out and do all that kind of personal work, right? And I also learned printmaking there because I started working as a printmaker for other artists, and actually that's how I learned printmaking. And then I decided it was time to go to grad school, and so I came to RISD in '83, and that's how I got to Providence. First I taught at St. George's, and then I got a job at RISD teaching printmaking. Someone went on sabbatical, and then I got the job at Brown. So I ended up staying here. I teach printmaking and painting, drawing, independent studies, and all kinds of things. A lot of my paintings really are about how unaware we are as humans about what we cause, what kinds of effects we have on the environment every day, in every way, in everything we do. I'm not really condemning it, it's just we're just, you know, clumsy animals. So, since I got into these more sort of complicated allegorical narratives where there's no resolution in sight, I've depended a lot more on my intuition in terms of what the next painting is going to be. The stories now are getting more complex, and so I'm just allowing them to sort of form. With the Shooting Squabbits piece, for example, through my studies and readings about nature and about thinking about theoretical kind of constructs of nature and nature culture and all that kind of stuff and how humans relate to nature, it's much more of an intertwined relationship. So it's not just us affecting nature anymore. We're all in the same boat. These paintings are really about death, and they're about bad luck, and they're about fate. And they're actually about the things that we cannot control. So that's one of the, you know, the sort of the impulse to control is particularly human one, and it's very natural because it has to do with our fear of death and our knowledge that we are going to die. That's in a way why this particular painting is very much about humans, because it's really about killing off the unnatural, you know, trying to kill the thing that may be threatening, even though in itself it's not at all, you know, so. There you go.